Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange. If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park.
After the first test at America's National Park of Speed, the field takes on a brand new challenge and a brand new car. A lot of unknowns heading into tonight. We're live from the virtual Virginia International Raceway. We welcome you to Event 2 of the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 and the Pro Class, right here on Podium Esports. Welcome alongside. My name is Kenneth Bueno with Rachel Whiteford in the broadcast with Ryan Bauer, our producer this evening, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Cameron Abaddon on social media all night long. And Rachel, we saw a masterclass of a race a couple of weeks back at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. But now we get to head to Virginia, but with the biggest thing of note, a brand new car. This is not the GT3 911 that was raced a couple of weeks back. This is the GT4 car. A lot of new things to learn, and it could definitely shake up the point standings only 2 races in.
Yeah, Kenneth, it really could. This car does handle very differently. It has different downforce, different traction. So it's going to provide a very different experience for these drivers. Now, this is the Pro Class. They're very good. But with changing goalposts, it always makes for a very exciting race. We saw last night with the Club Class, things were definitely a little bit up in the air at times, and they found this a little tricky as a combination. I wonder what we're going to see tonight.
We'll find out what we will see, but before we get to the racing, we'll remind you that Series 10 is brought to you by the Porsche Exchange, which has been family owned and operated for over 40 years. Located on the North Shore of Chicago, the Porsche Exchange has grown to be the largest volume Porsche dealer in the entire Midwest. Along the way, they have won the Porsche Premier Dealership Award for many years in a row, and it has been chosen to be one of the few Porsche exclusive manufactured dealerships in the entire country. To find out more, you can go to forporsche.com or follow at Porsche Exchange on Instagram. Also, Six Sigma Sim Racing is proud to announce the Season 10 Clean Driver Award. One driver in each PCA Sim Racing class will win a Six Sigma Sim Racing $250 merchandise gift certificate. This goes to whoever earns the fewest incident points and license penalty points from their best 6 races this season. And for more information, you can head to sixsigmasimracing.com. A lot to discuss, Rachel, about this Virginia International Raceway. One thing to note, it is wildly different from Road America. In many cases, what are the things that we might expect to see here at VIR tonight?
Well, what we saw last night and what I'm seeing right now is very similar, if not the same kind of weather conditions. The drivers described this track as greasy, and it was quite tight. Odd combination, but it is something that will actually be a big factor here with a very narrow track with very little runoff. VIR itself as a circuit is about 3.7 miles in length. It opened in 1957 and it did close again in the 70s before reopening in the 2000s. This track has 17 corners and it is very, very tricky. Lots of elevation changes, lots of tight corners, lots of very wide corners, so high speed, low speed. It means these drivers are having to handle a very constantly changing environment where they'll be on camber, off camber. This place is described as the green hell of America. It very much shares that with the Nordschleife. You can't make mistakes here because VIR will bite you.
Yeah, you cannot, and if you make a mistake in one corner, chances are you're going to get to the next one and make the same, if not a worse mistake. You watch drivers putting in times for qualifying right now, about a minute and a half left. You watch Chris Pais out of the Lone Star region trying to put a lap in. These drivers have 4 laps available to them to put up a time. I believe Pais is one of the next drivers to qualify here. There's a lot of drivers here, more than 30 in this grid that we should expect to see take the green. Now, one thing that is also true, we did see the challenge class about a week ago, then the pro class 2 weeks ago at Road America. We did have somewhat different formats in that. We do go 1 hour here from VIR, so it is just a full 60-minute race and no heats and no anything in between. So it's just straight qualifying. Also to note, Rachel, there's a standing start with these GT4 cars. So you look at just standing on the grid and then trying to put in the clutch and hop on the gas pedal and try to get up to turn one as quickly as possible. That could provide some very interesting challenges for the field. Here's a look at Dave Craig from the Keystone region trying to qualify as well.
Yeah, it proved interesting last night for the club class. We'll see how it goes tonight. It's going to be a challenge for certain, but these guys are top of the game. They know exactly how to do this, so we'll have to see how it goes. It was generally clean. We had a bit of bunching at the rear of the field, but that was a 50-car field down there in the club class. So this slightly smaller field, 30 cars, might be okay. We don't know. It depends how quickly they all launch, because that was something I think a lot of these guys are not as used to, the standing start. They're used to being rolling. It's easier to start accelerating when someone goes. Here, you've got to watch the wheel spin. You've got to watch the cars launch. So it's a very different ball game, and it's a very short run to turn one, which means they're not gaining huge amounts of speed. So we'll see it quite busy, I suspect, but hopefully fairly clean.
And hopefully we do see some clean racing. Here's a look at Steven Chen out of the Diablo region. In P30 right now, the car 25, trying to put in some laps. And it's a very interesting exit off of what we call the hog pen, the final corner here at VIR. It is rather a long straight to the start-finish line. There's a longer straight, though, on the back end of the race course. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But qualifying has just wrapped up, and it is Wyatt Gooden at the top of the board in the 23 car, a 152.343. He'll be the first to see the green. Rafael Amorim will be alongside in second. Jesse Lyon is third. Fourth will go to S. Bandiopadie in the 770. The 188 of Justin Sang behind the fourth place car in P5. Chris Pice in the number 14 is P6. Then Chris Brown in 7th. James Huth in 8th. Derek Cyphers in 9th. And Rachel rounding out the top 10. Ryan Cowley in the 3.
Behind him, we have Logan Grado in 11th place, Mark Lister in 12th, Paddy Patterson in 13th. 14th is Robert Rose with Garrett Taylor in 15th place. Trey Dorhorn is 16th with Luke Peterson 17th. Enrico Gregato is 18th with Thomas Briggs in 19th, and 20th is James Faulkner. The rest of those results up on your screen for you now. We're about to get ready to go to that green flag. Do apologize for being a very quick run through the grid there, but we are about to go racing.
That's true. It is kind of a rush sequence when you have everybody lined up on the grid, standing start, as opposed to when you have some time behind the iRacing official pace car. And it looks like Wyatt Gooden still yet to join the session, so we'll see him load in just a little bit. Rafael Morum, that red car right behind, and it's going to be an absolute dogfight for the entrance of turn one. There's Wyatt Gooden. We're ready for some green flag racing for Virginia International Raceway for event number 2 of the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Pro Class with the GT4 Cayman Club Sport machines. Gooden will be on the pole, and it looks like we'll wait for Barney the Flagman to give that green. It is going to take a couple of moments. They'll start to rev the engines. Barney the Flagman will have the green in tow, and we are racing for event number 2 from VIR as they chase for turn 1.
Yeah, great start throughout the field. Everyone seemed to launch around the same time. No stalls or missed starts there, so everything was pretty clean. Here comes the shuffling into turn 1 as everyone slows down, tries to find their way. A little bit 2, a little bit 3 wide, a little bit checking. Everyone's making it through. 3 wide deep in the field as they come through turn number 1. But they're managing to keep it clean. Everyone is through turn 1, absolutely intact. Beautifully done by these guys through turn 2. This is when a single filing starts, really, Kenneth. They're trying to filter their way as they come towards NASCAR Bend here at 3. And so far it is holding, and it's really nice.
And so far, it seems to be clean. Couple of drivers side by side, and even 3 wide in some cases. But here at VIR, you'll notice one thing and one thing only. Most notably, as we get through this first lap, it is rather narrow in many portions of this track, especially when you get through the snake part of this track. You get to the climbing S's in the South Bend, moving all the way to Oak Tree, and then that long back straightaway over to the roller coaster section of the track. There's not a lot of space for one, not only runoff, but space for other drivers. So you really have to keep that in mind. And it looks like for the moment, your top 5 have all run away by about a couple of car lengths, and it looks like Chris Brown, the next car in line, P6, has a little bit of catching up to do. Wyatt Gooden, though, leads the field cleanly all the way to the long back straightaway.
Yeah, he really does. Good running here. Everyone's keeping it clean. Big conga line right now through the field as we're seeing these guys trying to make some moves. Great qualifying, I've got to say, by Gooden. That 152.342. About just under a tenth, about 800ths of a second clear of Amorim, who is always a favourite in this series. So he's shown some good dominance early on. He's keeping his thing clean. He's kept that lead up there at the front. We'll have to see if Amorim can answer him back soon, because what we've seen is if the gap builds, it's very hard to recover it.
and Emmer were part of the top 3 last time we raced in this pro class at Road America. Finished behind Christopher Price and, of course, the inevitable winner, Trey's Jawhorn, who, by the way, is pretty buried in this field. 14th right now as we cross the line for the first lap. There's a look at Jawhorn out of the Chicago region, a driver who picked up all 385 points after the first race at Road America. A very good start. It looks like, Rachel, practice and qualifying have not been as kind to this 395, and we'll probably see that through this season as we look at the different car changes and, of course, the tracks on the schedule. When you've got a good advantage and a good first race like Jawhorn did, you step into a brand new car and a new track. It's the same competition, but ultimately the stakes could be changed, and Jawhorn really having to adjust significantly at this stage. You watch the entire field go single file still.
Yeah, he's already got a couple of spots here, which is good, but Faulkner, 20th, 15th already so far, which is a huge jump by him. He's really working his way through this field at the moment, and he's just gotten past, I believe that is the number 64. I don't know if that is. I'm trying to work out who that was he just got through on. No, that was Patterson. So he just made that spot. So a bit of a wobble there by Jake Faulkner. He actually dropped a spot at the moment. He's settling back in. That's a 9:13 just behind him. That's Leif Peterson. So big gains, but he's slipping a little bit. And oh, for the dirt. Oh, gosh. Very excitable racing there. We're keeping it clean, but you're meant to race on the asphalt, not the grass. This isn't lawnmower racing.
Well, it's not. It looks like Leif Peterson was also there to join and grab some leafs of his own out of the Maverick region. It started back in 17th, and now with that mistake, Peterson has dropped back to 20th, and behind him, Faulkner, of course, in 21st. Battle for 22nd behind them, that was Daniel Rubel and Nick Facciolo, the 5 and the 7:17. Looks like they settled that out quite quickly here in the latter half of this VIR circuit. Everybody all single file. That looks to be the mindset going into this first section of the race. And like we saw with those 2 mistakes from Faulkner and Peterson, just goes back to a thing that we've been talking about, Rachel, since Road America, a lack of runoff. You do not have a lot of asphalt, in fact, almost any asphalt, to give you a cushion if you go off and overshoot a corner. You go off, you're going to end up in the grass. It is like ice. It's tough for Peterson and Faulkner. They both are able to get back settled, but it is really tough when you get off track and you have so much traffic around you as you look at Gooden continue to lead this field, and Jesse Lyon not too far behind by half a second.
Yeah, they are, and it's still maintaining really well here. We've got this little bit of a breakaway at the front there. Sang leading the second grouping there, Bandiapati. Then we've got Brown and Pies. Behind them, we've got a trio with Cyphers, Huth, and Cowley. And then a little bit further back, we have Grado and Patterson. So we're separating some little small bandings here, Kenneth. And these guys are definitely putting in some good work. They're staying together, which is important. Drafting is super important here with the big straights. It will play a factor in how much you can move up the field.
And that is true, and also plays to how impactful any sort of damage is to the race car. When you have such a long straightaway, especially on the back end of this course, you're looking at miles per hour lost if you get damaged. Now, fortunately, pretty much everybody in this field have not suffered any type of damage, and the only damage has really been in the form of track position from just getting into in the grass and making a mistake. So fortunately, we've seen everybody go clean up until this point, and hopefully we're able to see them stay clean for the entire race. And you mentioned that 3-car battle, Rachel, that develops from 7th on back, or rather 8th on back, beginning with Derek Cyphers, then James Huth, Ryan Cowley. Cowley finished 17th at Road America just a couple of weeks ago. And look at the VR setup as he tries to grab some of the draft off the 12 machine and might make this pass complete entering turn 1.
He could, well, a good opportunity for him to do that as they come up here. Got a good positioning there, and he'll make that spot up there. Oh, he slides through. It could be an undercut. 12 tried to answer back, but couldn't find it. 95 on the outside now. We'll have the inside for the next corner here, turn number 2. You go to NASCAR. Will we see anything from the 3 machine of Cowley? He's looking, but he will not take it. Holds it now in line. Will maintain that spot.
Just looking to be patient. I think that might just be the motive here at VIR. Here's another look at Cowley as he tries to mount this move next on Derek Cyphers. A textbook pass complete on the 12 of James Huth. And now it looks like Cyphers will look towards the S's section of this track and will be the climbing S's going uphill. Obviously not a great place to try and make a pass complete, but Cyphers will be looking in his rearview mirror just in case Cali does anything worth of note. Still close for the race lead, about half a second between Wyatt Gooden and Jesse Line. There's a look off the front end of the 12 of James Huth, who's actually catching up now to Cali and Cyphers once more. So despite getting past, Huth is still in the mix for this battle. We're probably going to see this often, Rachel, and you pointed it, just a bunch of little packs, 3 or 4, maybe 2 cars, because this track is so big and so long, and when you race so many laps and everything happens, you're probably going to get these little cliques of cars that all seem to keep each other together for most of the event.
Yeah, and what we'll tend to see is these cars will break into little groupings, but they'll then come back together. Oh, we got a car off. That was Patterson. Paddy Patterson lost it there at the start of the roller coaster and just slid off into the grass. His back end stepped out. It might have been contact, I think. It was contact, yes. From behind, that was the machine of the 395. That was Trey Drawhorn. Little contact. But in this case, oh, big pack around Patterson actually right now coming onto the start-finish straight. But you've got to be careful because this place is super risky. But like I mentioned, it's like an accordion. You'll get these little groupings that will split up, but then they'll catch another group and you'll form like a mega group. And I suppose that's how you make boy bands. But in general, these guys will kind of constitute back together and then they'll form bigger packs and it'll separate out again. And that's how you'll see this race ebb and flow. It'll be that kind of gaining time, maintaining, trying to pass, splitting up again, and that'll go all the way to the flag.
And definitely will take us as well through what should be our first and only pit stop that we will expect to see at around halfway. We go 32 laps over this hour-long feature race, so we'll just exactly see how this all pans out. Here's a look at James Franznick in his pink and slightly purple-ish Porsche GT4 Club Sport. He works up through the climbing S's in the back end of this VIR track. Franznick currently sitting in P20 as it stands. And James Franznick has been pretty decent so far after starting in P22 up to 20th and does have a heap of cars in front of him, so there's a lot of opportunity for track position to be gained. And up ahead, Jonathan Waltman, Leif Peterson, and a bunch of other cars single file.
Yeah, Franznick had a wobble there coming out of Oak Tree. But just 2 quick notes. Briggs caught a black flag for the start of the race. And Drawhorn, as we just saw, he just picked up a very quick black flag from race control for his incident with Peterson. So there is that. Faulkner is here in 22nd place. He's looking for an opportunity, but, well, Franznick manages to hold on even after losing a bit of time here. And you see one of these mega groups forming here. We've got like 5 cars in that pack, and there's another 5 cars ahead. So we've nearly got a little 10-car train down here at the bottom of our top 20. Oh, off goes Franznick, and it's sending it big to the boundary, into the tyre barriers there. Unfortunate.
And should we expect the black flag given to Faulkner for that incident? Got into the rear end of Franznick, and there was nothing that he could do. Slams into the tire barriers and toes it to pit road. That might just be race finished in terms of contention for some solid points. Here's a look at Faulkner. I'm not sure whether that was intentional at all, Rachel. Just looked like different types of braking zones. Faulkner wanted to get in a little deeper. Franznick wanted to be a little careful. That miscommunication brings them together, and we'll just eye on whether Faulkner gets a penalty from race control. He sits 20th right now. There he
just did. Given the precedent set with the incident with Trey Drawhorn, yeah, I was expecting him to get one. He has just received one pretty much immediately there from race control. I do like the way that the Porsche of America do things here. They will assign the black flag, whether it's intentional or not. If you caused it, you catch it. It is a really very blind system, and they apply it well. It's unfortunate. It probably was an accident, but one guy's in pit road, one guy's still on the track, so fair's fair.
And they will add that penalty to Faulkner. We'll see exactly what he does. He still currently sits in 20th right now. He has fallen off of the grasp of Daniel Rubel and company, drivers up in front of him. So we'll just see exactly what happens to the 18, but we might just expect a pit road entrance for him sooner than later. We do also have note that a driver has disconnected from this race, and is the number 25 of Steven Chen. So unfortunately, Chen will not be able to finish this race, and it looks like did not get any points for the race at Road America. America either, so it has not been a solid first 2 races for Chen. Wishing him the best of luck, hopefully, when he returns for race number 3. Here's a look at James Huth, who is now settled into the top 10 after starting in P8, still behind this duo of Ryan Cowley and Derek Cyphers. It looks like Huth named gentleman driver during the first series. Favorite Porsche 1987 930 has been a part of sim racing for about 10 years or so, and Huth still looking on the back bumper, and this trio has been rather interesting to watch, Rachel, as they get through the first sector.
Yeah, they really have. It's been a very exciting little run with those guys. They've had some really good runs and strengths here. And it's definitely showing. Look back here from Cyphers towards Cowley behind him, hungrily looking for an opportunity. He's super close here as we arrive at the hurry downs up towards Oak Tree. And he looks to the outside. He's maybe going to hope to get alongside here, and it's going to try and find a way through in the next set of corners. He does, but that's going to cost him both time. Up behind them, Huth is definitely gaining, as is Grado. That's brought a 3 into a 4. But great move there by Cowley. Made it done as quickly as I think he could.
That was an absolute send by Cowley. He got into the grass there on the left side of the curbing and almost could have slid that car around, but he kept his foot in it, and somehow Ryan Cowley is able to take over 8th. Now it's going to be a pretty large gap before he gets to Chris Pice in the number 14, but we'll maybe see what Cowley can do. He currently sits in 8th. We'll watch that as we'll take a look up to the front of the field. Again, Field still trying to chase Wyatt Gooden in the 23, who has since expanded his lead to about almost a second and a half, roughly 1.2, 1.3 seconds. And then here's a look at Justin Sang in the number 188 out of the Golden Gate region, a driver who finished in 19th at Road America, looking for a pretty big rebound here from VIR tonight.
I think he is, and he's in a good spot right now. 4th place for the Golden Gate region driver. Started in 5th. Up 1 so far, but he's in a good, comfortable spot there. He's got a good gap over Bandiapati behind him, and he's right here on the back of Lion and Amarim. So he's in this podium contention zone, which I think will be really important going forwards. You have to be in it to win it.
It is true, and you have to keep yourself at least in some sort of contention. Now, the good thing for Justin Sang, his favorite Porsche is the GT4. So this is his wheelhouse. This is the type of car he likes to race. I'm pretty sure he was smiling ear to ear once he found out that they were going to race these cars in Event 2 for the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Pro Class, as he currently still rides in 4th. Car around near the rear of the field. That is Nick Facciolo in the 717, drops back to 25th. And we'll see exactly what happens, but might have just been some slight contact with the car behind. It was Rich Minkler that got into him.
It was, and it's definitely been one of those moments of just, these things unfortunately happen. I'm sure we'll see something coming from race control shortly regarding that, but moments will happen in motor racing, as we see Facciolo there. Minkler on the inside, and then it's kind of, that's hard to really read. It's as if they both came together, so we'll have to see what race control decides, but they usually give it to the car behind that's causing contact in these occasions, so we'll have to see what they choose. But racing moments will happen. Here's Huth on board, the Hudson Champaign region driver. Started 8th, he's dropped back 2 at the moment, and he's working right now on Cyphers ahead of him. See if he can get an opportunity to make a move, probably on the front straight with how close he is right now.
Well, there might be that opportunity here for Huth to make that pass on Cyphers. Remember, Cowley had just made his way by. Cowley is now looking to set his sights on clear track ahead of him and pull away to at least get closer to Chris Pice in the number 14. And they are also bringing in Logan Grotto in the number 22. Still a couple of car lengths off, but in the draft as they go through the long front straightaway to turn 1. But if you're a guy like James Huth or maybe a Nick Melorano or maybe anyone in a pack, at least, or anyone that's around some sort of cars, it is so tough to make passes here at VIR that you really have to be selective about where you do it, because we saw Cowley take it too wide through the S's and through everything in that back end of the course, but that's pretty much a rarity. You'll see a lot of drivers in the hard braking zones do it. You have to really be selective of what you do. Is look at Nick Melorano's shirt matching the car, Dunkin' Donuts. Love the look.
I wonder if he's a cop. That man loves his donuts.
That's a hungry looking livery, a hungry looking shirt.
Oh yeah. No, Rich Minkler caught by the black flag for the incident a few moments ago, so we have our decision race control there, but I've got to say that car does look good, and Duncan's coffee isn't bad, so yeah, not a bad choice for livery there. But looking on board here with Jonathan Waltman, the Santa Barbara region driver, the Californian. Started up in 23rd, he's in 18th, so he's gained 5 so far, working his way forward right now. As Leif Peterson ahead of him, along with Gregorato and Patterson. And Craig just in the foreground. Good opportunity for some moves. Big group forming.
And Waltman, one of the veteran drivers when it comes to the amount of years in sim racing, a grand total of 23 years here in PCA, was the 2019 rookie class winner. And currently sitting in 18th after finishing in 24th. The last time we were out in this pro class at Road America, so of course looking for a pretty good finishing order, and does have, again, a lot of cars around him with Leif Peterson, Enrico Gregorato, Patty Patterson, Dave Craig, Robert Rose. We've got a lot of drivers that are in the group close to him that he might be able to make passes from, but again, we'll just have to keep an eye on. So far, not many moves have been made. Not many drivers have pulled the trigger on making passes, just because it is pretty hard to make them. And I'll turn back to that point. We didn't really complete it because we were distracted by the Dunkin' Donuts merch by Nick Melorano. But here at VIR, it is so tough to get around drivers. You really have to pick and choose your moments, and it's kind of like Road America, but maybe just exacerbated, made a little bit worse with the fact that you've got a lot of long straights and a lot of sections of narrow track.
Yeah, it really is, and this track's narrowness, I think, is part of the flavour that makes VIR such an exciting place to see racing and to race. It really makes this a challenging circuit that really presses on the drivers, not just in terms of how fast they can race people and how well, but how fast they can compete with the track. Because this track is the, in this case, 31st competitor.
Yeah, that is true. It is something that you really have to keep in mind. You can't just really ignore it at all. And we'll watch again on board with Waltman, still looking at the rear bumper of Leif Peterson in the 913. Remember, we saw Peterson and another driver earlier in this race both get into the grass. Unfortunately, they have been okay since that little incident coming off of the Oak Tree section and onto the long straightaway that doesn't really have a name up until you get to the roller coaster section of the track that takes you through some multiple elevation changes, and then obviously to the hot pen final corner here at VIR before you get back to that coveted front straightaway and the start finish line. We're already 10 laps in. We're roughly around 41 minutes left in this race from Virginia, and we should expect in just a little bit Rachel drivers heading for pit road, or at least maybe thinking about where they might come in and when, especially given the fact that they are in some competition. Still a lot of drivers around them as you ride on board with Cowley. Off the rear end, there's a lap car giving way. Cowley currently sitting in 8th.
Yeah, I think we might see some strategy calls here, because we saw it last night. Some guys considered coming in a little early. That was if they were stuck in traffic. Why? Pitting early, you might end up in clean air. That could be a huge thing for you. If you're stuck mired in traffic, pitting at the start of this pit window might be the right decision for you. I think the majority of the field will go at the end, as always, but I think we'll get some people choosing to go sooner to try and give themselves an advantage, that clean air and room to race. Focus on the track, not just everybody else.
You want to put yourselves as far away from everyone else as possible. Here's a look at Rafael Moram, who really isn't not around anybody, around a couple of cars. Of course, still trying to catch Wyatt Gooden, who has extended the lead to 1.7 seconds. But this is our first taste of proper lap traffic. Car right in front of a Moram in the number 10 machine. That is James Franznick. Remember, we saw him in the tire barriers a little bit earlier in the festivities, but fortunately has been able to get back on the surface. But of course, now put a lap down. He is one of a couple of cars that have been put behind a lap. The other, Rich Minkler in the number 24, we saw him penalized a little bit earlier. Thomas Briggs in the 4 got penalized at the start of this race. He is 29th, and Garrett Taylor in the 529, it looks like, has disconnected from this race. So up until now, the second DNF here from VIR. Taylor will follow Stephen Chen in the 25, drivers 29th and 30th on the racetrack, as Amorim tries to get closer to Franzen to get around, but can't do it.
Yeah, can't quite make it yet. He's tried, but he hasn't quite found the opportunity there. It's definitely making things a little bit more spicy for these drivers, but yeah, they're still working to try and do something with this. Franznick wanted to try and recover some spots here in this race, but not quite got there yet. Have to see what he can do with that. Craig, by the way, up from 21st. So Franznick goes wide there, losing some spots again. More spots, hemorrhaging them, in fact. The Florida driver going all the way backwards to the back of this train. Not what he would have wanted. I was going to mention Dave Craig. He's up 7 spots right now, 21st to 14th. Biggest mover at the moment in our top 20.
Yeah, that's really big for Craig. And we'll see exactly if he's able to continue those spots. He finished 5th at Road America, so of course a lot to kind of bank on when you look at the point standings. And we talked a little bit about Trace Jawhorn and how he won that race, got the max points for winning that one in Road America. And now his race tonight has gone the complete opposite direction. He is lodged back in 24th, and he is currently the last car on the lead lap. So there is a lot to be said about the problems here for the number 395 and maybe what he can do to adjust in the next 40 or so minutes. Here's a look back on board with James Huth in the number 12 car, and still looking on the back of Derek Cypress, and that's still looking on the back of Ryan Cowley, who's leading this group in 8th. So safe to say, Rachel, they have not run away from each other, and I think after a while you kind of get a little comfortable with the drivers around you. It seems a little fun when you're constantly seeing them lap after lap.
Yeah, it does, and these guys are definitely having some good jousting here and enjoying the racing around each other. They're all being respectful and fair. The incidents we've had so far today have been mild racing incidents, frankly. We've not had any bad behavior per se. It's been mistakes, misjudgments, and I do say the PCA guys are some of the cleanest out there when it comes to racing each other fairly. We get to see fantastic wheel-to-wheel racing from these guys, and it really shows the amount of respect between the drivers.
Yeah, that is true, and I remember covering the Road America Challenge Series race about a week ago. We saw the courteous nature of the drivers, whether there were incidents on track or just certain things that would happen. They would give way to each other. They would have that mutual respect, and it was obviously a great thing to watch. And it has been some pretty decent racing between these three cars. Obviously, they have not been side by side every single lap, but they've been close enough within each other, setting laps around the same margins. Cowley with a 153.2, Derek with the same, James Hughes just a little bit faster at a 153.1, but you can anticipate that that's probably because of the draft that he's getting on the straightaways. It helps that time quite a little bit, but they've been so close all night long up until this point, 13 laps in. So it's been pretty nice to watch these guys run cleanly around VIR and just setting their own rhythms while just keeping pace with each other and not letting anyone run away. Although for Cowley, he is roughly 7.5 seconds off the next car in line, the 14 of Chris Pice, who's looking on to Chris Brown in the 258. So there's a lot, again, of these clicky scenarios between groups and then just large distances between them and everyone else.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and right now those gaps are starting to spread a little bit as time goes on here. Look at about 36 minutes remaining on our clock. Just been saying there on board with him. I'm loving dog cam, by the way, and the fact that just like every dog in the universe, dog bed and then dog. Neither are they connected. The same with my cat. Like, you can get them the nicest bed in the world, but they will just flop on the floor next to said nice bed. And I do appreciate having pup cam. It's definitely fantastic. I think we should stay on this quite a long time because sleeping Bork, equal to race car, maybe? Poll in the chat.
We've got a decent variety of cams tonight. We did have VR from one. We did have Dunkin' Donuts by Millerano. Now we have Justin saying with the sleeping dog cam. And you're right, no matter if you get a bed for them, doesn't matter if it's a full-on mansion, they're probably going to find a way to sleep somewhere else. I don't know why. I don't know if there's a theory behind that. My dogs have a big square bed. They don't even take a peek at it. They just have the toys on it. They try to sleep on my parents' bed anyway. So, and nonetheless, it is kind of funny to see that Justin Sang's camera there, the dog in the background. How about some of the frames in the background of TV here with Chris Pice in number 14. Again, previously mentioned him as the 7th car in the running order ahead of Ryan Cowley by a total of 7.5 seconds, but he's got a battle probably brewing up of his own. Chris Brown and Spaniel Padilla right in front of him.
Yeah, they are indeed. And well, we'll see how this does go. But Spaniel Padilla is going to be one that we'll have to keep an eye out at the moment. He's going to come under threat from Brown and Pies. Both are very fast drivers, and they've got real opportunity. So the New Yorkers are going to have to get real New York here, as we have got a car up ahead. Try to work out who that is. That is not one of our leaders. It was lap car.
Briggs.
Gooden, though, hasn't really got away here. It was Briggs. Yeah, 28th place Briggs. Gooden has not gotten away here like we've seen some. Only 1.7 seconds over Amarim and Lion. So this is very much still a race to win.
And it is true. When you look at strategy books, when they open, it is going to be possible for Amarim and Lion to probably pass Gooden. Of course, it is only 1.7 seconds, and while Gooden has been able to run away, keep them away from getting the toe off of the rear end of his GT4 in the draft, you've still got enough time, and with the way this pit road is structured and with how long this racetrack is, safe to say second and third can gain position and probably take control of this event. So Gooden is not out of the woods just yet, although there are a bunch of trees around VIR for certain, but this 23 not necessarily safe by any stretch, as the number 115 Jesse Lyon get a little closer to Amarim, might just make the pass in turn one, but doesn't think has enough space here and will not go for it this time by. Most of the field all single file. We really haven't seen a battle since the drop of the green. So at this point, Rachel, it's just all about keeping yourself steady. You can make the passes if they're available to you, but if you are where you are, chances are you're going to stay where you're at and you're going to decide on what to do for pit road as Lyon gets a little closer to Amarim out of the NASCAR bend and through the first couple of corners.
Yeah, Lyon's looking really strong right now, trying to find an opportunity to see if he can do something to the 10 car. But of course, this is going to bring Sang into the fight. If they start to battle here, this will bring that 188 machine in, and hopefully the power of Bork will send him forwards and get him involved in this battle for the podium.
And that is good for Sang. He would love to see these two cars battle up in front of him because they're going to lose time. And not only is he going to help Gooden here, who's already expanded to 2 seconds, but for Sang, he's going to close in little by little, lap by lap, get a little faster. And then most importantly, get the draft off of the 2 cars in front of him. So Sang could make this a 3-way fight, be the tertiary car, and there might just be the 4th car with Banyo Padye in the number 7070 inside the top 5. And these 4 have virtually not moved since the drop of the green flag. The only shift in position have been by Sang and Banyo Padye in the top 5 as the 770 dropped back to 5th after starting 4th. Sang has moved up to 4th after starting 5th. 1st through 3rd have been in the same spots all race long. It's going to be fun though, Rachel, as we're going to see that change for certain. We approach 32 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, they're absolutely are approaching that halfway point now, and it's been very busy so far. I have to say, Kenneth, these guys are really turning out tonight for the pro class. It's been exciting. I can't wait to see what the guys do next week, of course, with sport and with challenge. But it's been busy. These guys have really put work in, and we've had a great race. These Porsches really go well at VIR, and we've had some fun action. And there's still half the race to go, folks. There's still plenty left to see, and we get to work out what's happening. We get James Huth hitting pit road from 12th. Got one of our first pitters here, almost banged out the money for halfway.
Oh, you mentioned it. Some cars might want to come a little early here on this race. And James Huth being the first one to make this call. Looks like nobody else is going to follow with him. The only other driver that has really hit pit road recently, it is Jake Faulkner rather, in the 18, who pitted around 7 laps ago. But I believe that might have just been for penalty or might have been just for some other cause, not necessarily a scheduled pit stop to make it all the way on strategy. Huth is out and away. We'll pass the iRacing official pace car, which is a Porsche, by the way, and we'll cross under that flag stand with Barney the flagman standing on top of it, watching all the cars go by. On the front straightaway, he drops to 23rd on the racetrack as a result. But remember, everybody else will have to pit at least one more time. And because they already haven't pitted already, they need to pit that one time anyway. So we'll watch and see over the next coming laps at halfway who does what and who strikes next. We might just have a close battle up ahead the road. Chris Pice looking on the rear bumper of Chris Brown, the 258. Both of them within 0.2 of a second for P6.
Yeah, they are, and that's going to make things interesting for that grouping there, as they have been running together for most of this thing so far. Braun and Pies have been really working hard. The Texas driver there, the racing lawyer himself, Chris Pies, really putting in the work tonight, and he's been very patient, I have to say. He's been riding behind Braun here, and I think they're both working on trying to gain time in this race and try to move themselves forwards and actually get up involved in this fight for the front.
And for Pice, if he finishes where he stands right now, I believe he might just come out of VIR second in the point standings. Of course, the only one that would probably top the point standings after tonight, based on where everybody is running, probably going to be Rafael Morim, who finished 3rd in Road America in race number 1 and currently in 2nd. So we might just see how that changes. Remember, Trace Jawhorn has had an abysmal race so far. And so maybe there's a recovery at some point, but it looks to be that Amarim has the most consistent run through race number 1 and race number 2. We'll keep an eye here on Pice and Braun as they continue to get closer to each other in a possible battle for 6th place. Here's Gregorato, Enrico Gregorato out of the Pacific Northwest region, started 18th and in around the same place, 17th where he stands. right in front of him, Leif Peterson and the number 913. And then in front of them, Jonathan Waltman, who I think just might have had a mistake out of the left hook and heading for the snake. Here comes Peterson to make a move.
Yeah, he's going for that, see what he can do with this, but there's still plenty of time left in this one to make it interesting. Heading up towards Oak Tree yet again. And Peterson's really holding on here. Gregorato is looking for something, but I just don't think he's quite found it yet. I'd have to say Rubel behind him could be a factor in this argument yet. We'll have to see. He's definitely got some speed somewhere, and I think if these two squabble, he'll be through.
That is true. Here's Chris Pice looking on Brown, possibly for position entering the roller coaster section. That was a little close between them two. And they'll head for the hog pen, the final corners, and it looks like Pice not able to get the momentum to try and build it off of the final corner to head for turn one with a head of steam. That does not seem to be the case. We'll keep an eye though, but Pice is faster. The last time by was just about 100th faster than the 258 as they cross the line. This time by, it is almost 2/10 of a second quicker Pice is. Brown looking for a defensive line into turn one. Pice potentially for the crossover, and this is a picture-perfect battle for P6 on the track.
Yeah, it is indeed. So he's making good movements at this time. In fact, Bandiapati want that back, but we'll have to see how he does with that. It's going to be interesting to see if these guys can actually push that a little bit harder. Really, I've not seen much yet, but I think we will see it if they can gain that time there. I think we had one guy just go off the track just ahead of them. I can't see what happened to them. I think they may have towed that car.
That's Drawhorn.
Yeah, Drawhorn, issues for him. Yeah, he just did. He just towed back to pit road. Issues for Trey Drawhorn. It's been the worst race possible for him, I think, tonight, Kenneth. He just comes through here, and it's a solo incident. You'll see him now. We'll catch a bit of grass, and go straight lines it. They whips that thing. No nay-nay, just whip.
Well, it has been a tough race for Trey Drawhorn, who stood at the top of the podium at Road America just a couple of weeks ago and will now possibly face getting stripped away from the top points paying spot overall with the first two races in this series. And we talked about the fact that you can mess up one corner here at VIR, you'll probably mess up the next 2 or 3 corners. That's exactly what happened to Drawhorn in the 395. He's been put a lap down, and just like we saw, towed it to pit road. It looks like his chances at contention for even some solid points have been drawn away. Here's Wyatt Gooden, still about 1.5 seconds over Rafael Amorim and Jesse Lyons, second and third on the racetrack. It looks like the gap between Amorim and Lyon has since kind of grown between the two. They were both right next to each other. It looks like Lyon has fallen off over this run. As here's Jonathan Waltman. Remember, he got passed by Leif Peterson a couple of laps ago. Enrico Gregorato in the 771 looking to attack, entering the hog pen section of the course, and here comes Waltzman with another driver up ahead. That is Paddy Patterson for pit road.
Waltman, in fact, to pit road there from 18th place. We've got a couple of guys also hitting it as well, trying to get some time here. Paddy Patterson, like you mentioned, there is on pit road himself. So we're seeing that kind of start with the flow of most of our field coming down here, and I don't think we'll see many more laps before a lot more of these drivers will arrive here to pit road. The real thing is when the leaders do it and what difference that will make. Pit road is not particularly challenging here, but you can still pick up time.
You can, and unlike Road America, it isn't necessarily the longest pit delta at all, so you're not really going to lose a lot by being on the pit lane, as apart from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, where you wanted to minimize as much of the time on pit road as possible. But of course, it is a big one, Rachel, just to see where in relative they get in comparison to each other. And most importantly, what's biggest on my mind is where Wyatt Gooden stands in all of this. When he comes down pit road, how pivotal will that be, either for the battle for the lead or for anything else? Gooden has been virtually unstoppable since we started this race. He hasn't let anyone really catch him by any means. So could this pit strategy be either the beneficiary for him or the detriment for his race? We'll see what Gooden does. He comes out of the hog pen here, will not look for the pit lane. Neither will second, neither will third. Nobody, at least in the top 5, are aiming for pit road. We're just going to have to wait a little while before we get everybody 6 on back. Looks like Brown and Pice are not looking forward to as well. So I'm guessing, Rachel, these drivers probably just want to stretch it all the way to the end.
I think they might, but I don't think they can. So we'll have to see what they'll do with this, and when they decide it, they're going to run it to the end of the pit window, I suspect. I think they've got about maybe 5 to 8 minutes left of fuel, so it's going to be relatively soon. 3 laps, maybe 4 at the most outside. So we'll have to see what they do then, and it's going to be tricky. And I'm trying not to mention dogs, and looking away from my second monitor here at Borg. Oh, the dog heard me. It's okay. The dog heard me. Oh, no, look. Bed. See? Yes, beds are good. I'm commentating on the dog now. He's adjusting his position. He's finding a more comfortable spot. His head will be on the bed. The rest of his body not, because logic and dogs.
And probably cold pillow at some point. So there's Justin saying under fire, not necessarily by Bagnapadie, but on fire of Jesse Lyon, who has fallen back from Rafael Marim. And Sang has really picked up the pace over the past couple of laps, so we might just see Sang pick up a spot before these drivers inevitably come to pit road. Our producer Ryan Bauer gave us a fantastic point. Lighter car is quicker. You're going to put in the faster lap times when you have less fuel in this GT4, so they're probably going to take it as long as they can, but we might have a pass for the last spot in the podium. Here comes Sang with a peek on the inside to the roller coaster section.
It's going to be too early, and he didn't have enough overlap there, because the corner will belong still to Lyon, but it was worth sticking his nose in there to show him he's got the speed, and he will try. That means Lyon has to watch his mirrors. Now, we learned from last night that the leader pitted on lap 21, so Gooden we expect to maybe go by this time. He does. Will he come in next time? That is the question. That seems to be the winning lap. Sang, however, comes in this time.
We also are going to mention that Dave Craig and Robert Rose came down pit road around a lap ago. There is Sang all by himself heading for the pit lane. So we're not just seeing a collective group of cars come in. I think at max we've seen 2, but we haven't seen more than 2 or 3 or more come on to the lane. So Sang is going to drop into the pit stall all by himself. He'll drop these spots, but of course is going to gain them back once everybody else decides to find their way in. There's a look at Gregorado in the number 771, now going to get by Sang here, and Gregorado currently settled in 12th as a car, I believe, off somewhere on the track, but we just cannot see. There's Leif Peterson in turn 1. Gregorado has been really putting the pressure, but the one thing that he has not found is that last puzzle piece to get around, and that's for 11.
Yeah, it is, and that will make things quite interesting for them right now, as Peterson, obviously, I believe, still needs to hit pit road, as do quite a few of these other guys, so we'll have to see what they're doing. This is not a net position, this is an aggregate position at the moment, so we'll see this one unfold, but I think a lot of these guys are really holding this to the very last second at the moment. The gap as well, not significant. Amram, Gooden, 1.5 seconds there, and it's about another 1.5, 1.8 back to Lyon. Paddy, he's dropped back even then, almost 2 seconds adrift, so he's lost a lot of time in that first half of this lap since his near pass.
It's going to be interesting to see how they go. There's Gooden here, and here's a look at Pice looking on Brown, but cannot find the nose in. Tried to look a couple of times last time through at this portion of the track around the roller coaster to the hog pen. And this time Pice will hold back as Ryan Cowley will be in a side-by-side battle with Cyphers, and there's your race leader. You're right, Rachel, coming in, and it looks like Rafael Amarin to follow.
Yep, Amarim has hit pit road too. Lyon will stay out and lead a lap. Bagnapadie will stay out as well. Braun is in. Pies, however, stays out. So Pies, I think, is here hoping to put down a slammer of a lap. If he can do that, he has every chance of actually skipping Braun in the pits. But only will he have to pit for slightly less fuel, which means less time. But if he can put in a really great lap now, he can recoup some. Because if he can get ahead of Braun, he doesn't need to be faster. He just needs to fight him off until the temperatures come up on the tyres, at which point they're equal at that point. So Gooden will come out now. Although I think Amarin beat him off pit road. He did.
He did, and that was by 3 seconds, not only on the entire pit lane delta, but in the pit stall. 42.3 overall from start of the pit lane to end of it for Amarim, 45 flat for Wyatt Gooden, a 23-second stop for the 23, a 20.3 second stop for the 10. So Amarim quicker than Wyatt Gooden, and it's the first time, Rachel, we see this 23 in traffic in the running order. The only cars that he's been able to get around have been lapped machines. Now he's got to scrap his way back to the front.
Yeah, he does. Now, we'll see what happens with Lyon, by the way. He has to pit too. He was in third. He was only about, essentially, 3 seconds adrift of your leader there. But we'll see what that can do, because of course we've seen Amarim gain quite a bit there, so this will be very telling when we come back across the line and when things cycle through. The top 6, Lion, Bandiapati, Pies, Cyphers, Grado, Gregorato, have all stayed out so far. They will be coming in. Again, Lion hit pit road, as did Bandiapati this time by. Pies also this time by. This is what I want to watch. Pies and Brawn. That's going to be an interesting battle to see how this flips around. Cyphers is most likely staying out, apparently. Grado is coming in, and Gregorato will not be there yet. We'll have to see. I really want to see what filters out here with Amarim. Amarim, wow. Has he got a fuel? That's the question.
Hopefully he does. With the stop that he just put in, I feel like that just might have been the only call that Amarim was going to make if he wanted to get around Gooden for the lead, just because of how solid that 23 has been and how unbreakable that he is pretty much put up throughout the entire race. There is Rafael Amarim coming out of where the pit lane exit would be for turn 1. Jesse Lyon is going to come out of this in P5, but guess what? Your top 4, at least from 2nd on through 5th, Derek Cypher still yet to pit at this juncture of the race. All of them, their net race leaders, all within at least 0.3 of a second. So Rachel, they are basically bumper to bumper at this stage of the race, and Gooden is going to be in a dogfight with Amarim in the next 17.5 minutes.
It will be an exciting 17.5 minutes to run to the end here, and seeing how this goes. The tire hopping's going, these cars are flying, they're low on fuel. They are racing now for all the cookies. This is it, to the end. They're pitted, now it's go time. Time to put it in and put your money where your mouth is. And right now we're going to have an absolute duke on our hands for this victory, because all of a sudden Wyatt Gooden is not leading.
He is not, and the thing that he's going to have to do is plan his blueprint to get around Amarim. This might just be the opportunity at the exit of Oak Tree to this long back straightaway where you can get so much draft off the car in front of you. We have seen drivers in this race do it before. We've never seen Gooden do it, though, because he has not been behind the traffic to pull off a move for position. Gooden will not strike once they get to the roller coaster section. And the question will be as well, Rachel, are they going to bring in Justin Sang and Jesse Lyon a little longer? Because you've got so many different types of stories in this top 4 as Derek Cyphers finally calls for pit road. It looks like 23 laps into the stint, and that should give way for Amarim to take away the race lead.
It should indeed, and I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen with this. And if we can see a battle back from Gooden, it's going to be a tough one, though, because there's still a lot to work with in this, and in terms of how quickly he can possibly find his way back here, or if he even can. It will be a long time.
And Will, there's Cyphers coming out of pit road. Looks like he will settle in 8th, although James Huth is going to be catching up here. Still wound up 140 miles an hour on the long front straightaway. So Cyphers actually will hold on to that spot, and a nice move up for Cyphers. Started in 9th in this race and up to 8th, so it has been a rather consistent evening for this teal blue green-ish number 95 Porsche GT4 Club Sport car, as Wyatt Gooden continues to look on the rear bumper of Amarim. That last time by was about a 10th faster. 152.418 for Gooden, 152.585 for Amarim. So safe to say Gooden is faster, but he needs to find a way around. Of course, there is still time left. Might be a big mistake by Gooden. Gets into the grass up to Oak Tree.
Oh, we'll have to see what happens here. Gooden not quite in the right spot there for the moment, but we'll have to see. He did not gain what he thought he was going to. He's really struggled with that.
Now, fortunately, that mistake does not take him completely out of contention for the lead. Doesn't drop him any in terms of track position. But that is a mistake that unfortunately could set his race off and could eliminate his chances of winning this one if they continue to build up. Remember, these drivers have a drive-through at 17x if they get that, and they do have a DQ limit at 25x. And this track, without any runoff, you can easily accumulate those 1x's by going off the track. Gooden, though, only at 4x, so should be okay, but you just have to keep that in mind because 1x could easily build into a couple, and the last thing you want is for them to really build up in the last stage of this race when you need to be as clean as you can.
Absolutely, and you know what? The producer said it best in the chat. We've got a real barn burner on our hands here. Let's give it up to Ryan Bauer for that one, because we've got a 4-way fight for the win in the Pro Class at VIR. Amarim, Gooden, Sang, and Leon all under an umbrella. This is gonna be exciting, because right now, if Gooden and Amarim fight, Sang and Lion are on them.
And now if you're saying in Lion, do you wait for Gooden to pull off a move? Do you try and anticipate what they're going to do when they battle and go single file between yourself and Lion? Or are you just going to try and battle within yourselves? Because there is a pretty big trade-off here. If you go single file, you kind of work with each other to catch up to the top two, then they battle, you make it a 4-car train for the race lead, or you go side by side, you lose a bit of time, and you might just lose reach of your top two. It looks like Lion has been desperate to get around Sang over the past couple of corners. He's had a lot of momentum, but has had nowhere to really emphasize it on. We'll look for the back straightaway. We'll try to grab some of the draft entering the roller coaster section, but it might not just be enough to get that pass complete. And they are now almost a second off of Gooden and Amarim up front. So time is running out for them. Time is growing between the two groups, and so you really got to act quick.
Yeah, absolutely do. And they're working hard, but there's 12 minutes left. There's still plenty of time here. You can see a lot change in all that. One battle, I think, will change this immediately. So they've really got to be careful. Gooden has to be aware. This is his race to lose now. He has to do this right, because if he doesn't, he brings 2 more competitors into it. He's got to be selective.
And then it's a tough sandwich where you're having to play offense on Amarim and then defense on Sang and Lion, and then you end up kind of in an Oreo. You really don't know where to go. And for Gooden, we have not seen him in this position all race long. Remember, he has had the lead since the drop of the green. He had the pole, had the fastest time in qualifying, had the lead entering turn 1 by a clear margin, pulled out to almost 2 seconds of a lead at one point before pit stops, then got it slightly moved out of the way, then came down pit road. Amarim followed at the exact lap, the exact marker, had less time on the pit stop, and now Amarim is in control with 11.5 minutes left. So Gooden really has to play his cards correctly. They move up through the climbing S's, now onto South Bend for the Oak Tree section of the track. Can Gooden build up a run? Tag of the grass for Amarim. We'll see what happens next.
Yeah, we absolutely will, and it's going to be so close here. Look at this, they're absolutely on top of each other right now. Coming down the back straight here, past the Southern Circuit pits, and wow, 2 pairs, top 4. This could go to anybody, and I can't look away right now, Kenneth. There's still plenty of racing action going on further back from us, of course. We've got action around Crowley, Nista, Grado. We've got action around Craig and Rose. We have stuff going on with Waltman, Gregorato, and Patterson. It's going on everywhere, but this top 4 battle is huge. And the gap has grown somewhat between Gooden and Sang. This would be a great opportunity to strike if I was Wyatt Gooden. He has got some time in the bank, but he must do it soon. We've got defensive lines here from Amarim on the front straight. He knows Gooden's looking for it.
Gooden might try to get closer to turn 1. It appears Gooden might not have the run. Breaks a little bit earlier than Amarim, but Amarim will botch the corner. Here comes Gooden on the inside for P1.
And he has that extra bit of corner there that he will allow him in the inside still technically to hold that and secure the spot. Amarim returns to second place where he's been most of this race. Can he fight it back now? And that was a very time-efficient move there by Gooden. He has not given up much to Sang and Lion. So this is exactly the circumstances he needed.
Did Gooden put Amarim in a situation where he just made that mistake, pressured him to the point where he cracked? Amarim, the first big mistake we've seen, a big blunder by the 10 car. Here's a look on board with Jesse Line, still eyeing on Justin Sang. Could that bring these 2 cars a little closer? But that was a textbook pass by Gooden, forced Amarim to play defense, and as soon as he did, messed up the corner, and now has to play catch up again, going back to the Oak Tree portion of the track.
Yeah, certainly is, and wow, the tempo just keeps changing here tonight as we're seeing a run now by Amarim as we come up towards the roller coaster here at the end of the lap at VIR. And it's big gains, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think, for Amarim as he tries. Oh, it might be. He might look for an opportunity here. He's going to hold back. He's going to be smart about this one and not go yet. He wants to get a great run off the final corner through Pigpen. That will really give him the opportunity to do exactly what Gooden did to him last time by and strike back in turn 1 with the most time efficient and least wasted kind of race real estate here for him. And it's a good run out the final corner, but will it be... Oh, it's big. It's big, big, big.
This is substantial for Amarim and built up a lot of momentum entering the roller coaster section. It felt like he was way better than Gooden at that part. Will not duck to the inside for turn 1 and instead will try another time. They are still reeling in Justin Tseng and Jesse Lyon. They have closed in that gap quite a bit. So either these two drivers fighting each other have lost the time, which they have, and it has allowed Tseng and Lyon to edge a little bit closer. So this battle between first and fourth not over yet. Amarim catches the grass off of NASCAR Ben. Justin Tseng is looking at second.
Yeah, he's looking for it. He wants it. Do it for your dog, Justin. Do it for your dog. Wyatt Gooden, I was really happy to see this. A mistake is what he needed. You can see these guys have been pushing so hard. For the last few laps, Gooden's been using every millimeter of this racetrack, and Amarim just used a little bit too much. It cost him a little bit there, and Sang sees the opportunity here. Lyon as well. They could do something with this, but they have to be careful. We haven't got a lot of time left. 7.5 minutes. Wow, this thing has heated up. Oh, mistake by Sang. He catches some grass too on the run to Oak Tree. Opportunity for Lyon, but he'll back out and wait for a draft run. He could do that, but with the draft from Amarim ahead of him, which they all are within, these top 4, Kenneth, they're in a second together.
Jesse Lyon cannot pull his way through Tseng. Here's a look on board the back end of the GT4 of Wyatt Gooden, who now opens the gap up to 0.4 of a second. A little bit of elbow room between himself and Amarim heading into the roller coaster section. But again, any little mistake is going to reel that next driver in. And it's not just one in the form of the 10. It's that 188. It's that 115. Tseng, Lyon, and Amarim, all 3 of them gunning for the win of this second race in PCA Sim Racing Series 10 and the Pro Class from VIR. And for Road America, we saw a pretty much different race. But tonight it has been absolutely fantastic. Here's a battle further back through the field. This is Mark Nister out of the Chicago region looking on Ryan Cowley for the last spot in the top 10.
Yeah, behind him, Logan Grado is looking for an opportunity as well there. He was just not quite quick enough right now, but he's looking for the opportunity. If Nister makes a mistake or the battle with Crowley is a bit too complicated, he'll be in there as well. Looking forwards though. Cyphers and Huth, they're on top of each other as well, just ahead of them running into turn 1. The grey machine there is, of course, Huth. Cyphers, the kind of sea green. Looking back there from the rear wing of the Sacramento Valley region driver. Started 9th today, running in 8th. Cowley started 10th, is still running 10th. And Cyphers, actually, they're both swapped places, so Huth's back one, Cyphers is in his spot.
Yeah, these 3 drivers, 8th, 9th, and 10th, all started around that region of the race. So it looks like they're just going to grab those points if they end where they stand the next 5.5 minutes. Again, our attention will turn back to your top 4. And I see a car in the distance. That is lap car Rich Minkler, who got a penalty earlier in this race. Now the question is, how much of an impact will Minkler play as the lap car? And most importantly, where do they catch him? Because he's probably going to be offline, probably going to look to stay out of the way as much as possible, which is fine. But even then, if you reach him at an exit of a corner, you might be in trouble, and Gooden might just lose time. Again, any little mistake matters at this juncture in the last couple of laps, so Gooden has to keep that in mind.
Yeah, they absolutely will, and you've got to be very careful, especially these last minutes. We're under 5 minutes to go now, and this is where you can make a mistake. People are tired, people are making mistakes, people will be a little sloppy. We've been racing for a while now, and everything's on the line, so, you know, there's time running out, so that time pressure will tend to make people get into some trouble. But here's interesting factors. We have a lap car right ahead of our lead 4. Will this play a factor, or will they get out of Dodge ASAP? If they don't, it could be a huge pick for some of these guys.
We have seen Minkler be courteous as a lap car in the past in this race. We also do have to let you know that Daniel Rubel in the number 5 car has disconnected from this race. It looks like he will finish in 26. Rubel started tonight in 25th, and that's exactly where he's going to finish, around that same marker. So unfortunate for Rubel. We'll have to look towards next week's race, or I believe the race in 2 weeks' time at Suzuka with the next car in line, the 911 GT3 Cup, or otherwise known as the 992, the car that's used in the Porsche Esports TagWire Super Cup. As you continue to watch the battle between your top four, a little bit more separation between these guys, and Jesse Lyons still eyeing on the back bumper of Justin Sang. That is, of course, for the last spot in the podium. Here's a nice look on board with the Yellowstone region, number 115, looking out of Oak Tree on the back straightaway, and does have a bit of the toe from Sang. We'll see if he pulls off any moves, but over the past couple of laps, Rachel, that has not been the case.
Yeah, it is, and wow, this could definitely change things, of course, but looking on board here, looking towards the 188 machine there of Sang, that's Lyons' view from the passenger side, coming up now towards the hurry down, and we're going to catch Minkler at a really bad spot, I think, if they get a little bit closer here. They might catch him at a front straight, though, with timing. I think they might here, which is going to be advantageous, but if he stays ahead, which he could, for turn 1, 2, 3, that could be really tricky for these guys, so I'll have to see how this one plays. If I'm Minkler, okay, he's pitting, okay, not the worst decision, but not sure he needed to do that, but we'll see. Keeps it clear, though. Track is open for your leaders here. 2.5 minutes, or just 2 minutes 50, I should say, on the clock. 31 laps. We had 32 laps last night. These guys are going a little bit faster, so I suspect we'll get the white flag next time by, based on my math here, Kenneth. So 2 to go now.
It should be 2 to go. And looking at the lap timer, as they all cross the line first through fourth, remember, they're all within at least 1.2 seconds of each other. They all set almost mirror image lap times. All of them in the 152.4s, all separated by hundredths of a second. So it is absolutely astronomical how close these drivers are. But a mistake arises out of Jesse Lyon that'll drop him back from Justin Sang by about 0.8 of a second, and growing a mistake that he could not afford at this stage of the race if he wants any chance at a top 3 finish. And first, second, third, all within 0.8 of a second, heading for Oak Tree. No mistakes out of any of them, heading for the downhill section of the course. And for the long back straightaway, Gooden looking to hold on as long as he can.
Yeah, very much is. And oh, Sang's dog's up. I think he's even watching as well now. He wants to be involved in this thing. We've dropped off Lyon, though. He's really lost pace. Absolutely fallen off the back of that grouping there by a huge mile. Top 3 are clear now. If they stay in order, this is a huge one for these guys, but it could all still change very easily.
It can, and if you're Rafael Amorim here, Rachel, what do? Are you going to get a little more aggressive? Are you getting more desperate? What kind of strategies can you employ to get around Gooden right now?
I mean, right now you've got to make those opportunities. You've got to go for those moves you might not have done earlier. I think he's been sizing up Gooden for a few laps now. He's been trying to look at some moves, see what would happen. He's not close enough now, but I think he could. He's a little faster in the twisty sections than he is on the exits to the straights, so that would really be his advantage for Rafael. But he has to start doing something now. This is the white flag. It is go time.
And he also has to probably start praying to the racing gods that Gooden finds a mistake somewhere around this track. We have news that Trey's Drawhorn has officially disconnected from the session. He had problems earlier tonight, towed it to pit road, but it's the first time he's really put it beneath the wall properly. He's going to finish in 28th in that 395 car. Such a tough break for Drawhorn, who came out of the gate swinging with a win a couple of weeks ago at Road America. But we are poised to see a brand new winner out of these 3, Gooden, Amorim, and Justin Sang. The timer is running out, around 20 seconds left in this second event for PCA Sim Racing Series 10 and the Pro Class from VIR to kick the action off. And this should be the signal of the white flag and the checkered as soon as they come around for the start-finish line. Gooden grabs the grass heading for Oak Tree.
He did, but it's not a significant grab. And there's a lap car right ahead. They move out the... Ooh, they're in the way. Okay, he goes round him, but it's a little bit of draft. He needed that to try and gain some speed here. You see them all tucking behind that lap car to try and get something out of this, but Amorim's not going to be close enough, I don't think, this turn by. He's nowhere near close enough. He's going to have to throw everything to the wind if he wants the opportunity at this. And it's a very late start-finish line here, Kenneth. He has got a chance. It's not a big one, but it exists. He saw a mistake by Gooden. He dropped a little bit of speed there.
A couple of more corners left. Off to Hogpen for the final time from VIR. Does Amorim have anything left? This is the last corner. Gooden is going to hang on and onto the front straightaway. Wyatt Gooden stays from pole to the win, gets by Amarim in the winning laps. Wyatt Gooden wins Event 2 in PCA Sim Racing Series 10 and the Pro Class.
Fantastic run there by those guys. Cyphers, by the way, and Huth have separated in this race so far. But behind them, Crowley, Nister, and Grado are super close here. This is the bottom of your top 10. And they're still racing as we come out of the hog pen. Will we see a pass at the line? I don't think we will. On board there with Crowley, and it's not going to change positions, but it was super close. A bit further back, we have Rose, we have Waltman, and we have Gregorato there. We have Craig just ahead of them. Another bunching of cars now coming through to the line as we'll get our last of our lead lap vehicles here coming across the line. Wow, Kenneth, that was one heck of a race tonight.
What a race. Wyatt Gooden, despite losing the lead off pit road, gets back to the point and takes the win here from Virginia International Raceway. Post-race show on the other side, but we will continue our coverage of the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Pro Class right here on Podium Esports.
Brake a little earlier if that's going to be the case. He's actually got a nose ahead as they come down into the braking zone. He's going to do it the hard way.
If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange.
Welcome back to the afternoon skies over VIR, where Wyatt Gooden takes control and wins the second event for PCA Sim Racing Series 10 with the Porsche GT4s. Gooden wins the race by 0.3 of a second over Rafael Amarim. It was a stellar battle between the two. Amarim took the lead off pit road on the one and only stop in this event. Gooden took the lead back as Amarim made a mistake in turn one and never looked back. Justin Sang comes home with a podium finish. We'll talk to all three of them before we wrap up our coverage on Podium Esports. Jesse Lyon is P4 at the end of it all. Chris Pius has a solid outing from VIR. He comes home in fifth. Chris Brown just behind him. We saw a nice battle between the two Chris's this evening as Brown ends up in sixth. Seventh will go to Bandio Padier in the 770. James Huth in the number 12 is 8. Derek Cyphers in the number 95. I believe the last car out of everyone to come down pit road under that sequence of stops, but he comes away with a top 10, and the VR setup for Ryan Cowley takes him to a top 10 finish after starting exactly there when we took the green. Mark Nister in the 19 is 11th after starting in 12th. It'll be a 12th place finish for Logan Grotto in the number 22. Dave Craig in the 996 ends up 13th and is the largest charger of the race after starting in 21st. Robert Rose in the 443 is 14th after starting exactly in that spot. And rounding out the top 15, Rachel Whiteford is the number 7 of Jonathan Waltman.
Behind him, Enrico Gregorato comes home 16th, up 2 from where he started. Down 4 from 13th and 17th, Paddy Patterson. Going to be down 1 from 17th in 18th place, Leif Peterson. Andy Jenkins up from 27th to finish 19th tonight. 20th is Rick Reisenberg from 28th. 29th to 21st is Nick Melaranio, with 22nd place being Nick Fasciolo. Jake Faulkner, first car up down from 20th. He finishes 23rd. 24th, James Franznick to 24th in the end there from 22nd. Up 1 to 25th is Rich Minkler, 26th place tonight. Down one is Daniel Rubel. Thomas Briggs comes home in 27th with 28th place. Trey Drawhorn, a retiree tonight, along with Garrett Taylor and Stephen Chen.
Tough break for those last couple of drivers, especially Drawhorn, who won a couple of weeks ago at Road America. But we have a brand new winner for event number 2, and that is the man behind the 23 machine out of the Maverick region, Wyatt Gooden, and his Porsche GT4 ends up victorious from VIR. And Wyatt, I have to imagine that pit stop changed everything. You lost the lead to Amarim. It was your place to go and get it back. What was that like, and how do you feel taking the win this evening?
Hey, yeah, thanks. That was really fun. It's great racing. And yeah, I slipped up in preparation and didn't do any pit strategy or fuel calculations, and I tried auto fuel for the first time and thinking it was going to be pretty conservative, and it was. But needless to say, Raphael drove really good. I mean, I couldn't pass him. I had to wait for some sort of mistake.
You found your way through the mistake from the 10 car, and you take away the lead again, and you never looked back. You held on to it all the way to the end. We know that you're pretty much a decorated road course driver on the sim here at VIR. Were there any challenges that you had to face from the point, or was it just kind of smooth sailing up until that first pit stop?
Yeah, I thought I had the race pretty well under control. Like, got lucky to break the draft in the beginning, and I thought, that took a little bit of pressure off. And but he was right there. It's just kind of, I think the cars behind me were a little bit faster and lower fuel too, and it was interesting. I was struggling in some sections of the track. I was really good in the first sector, and Raphael was, I think, faster in roller coaster and hogpin. So it evened out pretty well, and I was thinking the draft was going to be stronger, but it's pretty realistic. It seems like they've got it dialed in.
Well, nonetheless, you're able to hold on. You take this win here from VIR. Now up next, Suzuka with the 911 GT3 Cup and the 992. Any specific thoughts about that when we take that track in April?
Yeah, depending on the date. If I'm home, I will definitely try to make that one. Suzuka's not a strong track for me, so I'd like to get better at that one. So that'd be a good reason to make that race.
Well, nonetheless, we hope to see you there, and it is a big win here from Virginia International Raceway with the GT4s. On behalf of our entire broadcast team, Wyatt, congratulations on the W here tonight from VIR, and hopefully looking forward to seeing you soon in PCA Sim Racing.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, guys.
So that is Wyatt Gooden, the driver of the 23, victorious here from VIR. We'll talk to the driver who comes home in second. That is Raphael Amarim, joined by Rachel Whiteford.
Raphael, very busy race today. I want to talk to you first about that pit stop. Where did you find that time?
Frankly, I don't know, because I wasn't really saving. I was trying to close the gap to Wyatt in front. We were like a second and a half, 2 seconds apart. So I was just trying to close the gap and pushing as hard as I could. So I didn't really save a whole lot of fuel. I think just Wyatt must have added a bit much. So I was really surprised in jumping him in the pit, and I was just trying to keep in front and not making any mistakes. He's just so fast, and it's kind of hard to keep him from passing you.
I've got to say, it was a wonderful race seeing you guys dueling tonight for that top 4 amongst all of you, but just how was the track tonight? It seemed like you guys were using absolutely every millimetre of the racing circuit. We saw you and Wyatt both put a wheel on the grass occasionally. Was it really testing the limits tonight?
A little bit. Obviously, we're pushing really hard and trying to use the whole track. So in the end, with the tires warm and the track was getting hot, so it's sliding a little bit. But it was still manageable. I had good grip throughout the race, and could manage well without taking too many risks.
Well, it was awesome indeed from our perspective. Congratulations on a great race in second place. Anybody like to give a shout out to or thank tonight?
Thank you. Well, first, all of you and Podium, the folks at the steering that help organize all of this, all my fellow drivers that show up and make this a lot of fun. And also my wife, as always. She's always the one supporting me through this. So, yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Raphael Amarim coming home today was second.
It is a fantastic race for Rafael Amorim, and the same can be said for third place Justin Sang, who joins us now in the broadcast booth. And Justin, you had this race from fifth at the drop of the green. You moved your way up to the podium, and you were right in reach with the leaders in those waning laps. What was your thought process like in this last stage of the race?
I was just trying to stay ahead of Jesse. He was right behind me, and then when he ran off, I think second to last lap, I just tried to stay within Rafael and see if he maybe make a move and try to take advantage of that. But nothing happened, and I couldn't keep up with Rafael anyways.
Well, nonetheless, you had Jesse Lyon hot on the heels of your number 188 car. Did you feel that pressure throwing through this VIR track, and how did you find a way to keep him at bay and have that defensive stance ready?
I know VIR is tough to pass, so I just try to make sure I get a good exit, and hopefully he won't send it to the inside. But other than that, if I don't make a mistake, I don't think he could have maybe passed me. But we never know.
Well, nonetheless, still a solid third place finish. I do have to ask, what's the name of the dog in the background? We saw him earlier asleep on the floor, him or her, all asleep on the floor next to the little bed. And we made a couple of jokes about it throughout the broadcast. Oh, what's the name of the dog by any chance?
She's still there, just slightly off camera. Her name is Joy. She's a Husky Pit Mix. So it's not frequent that she would sleep like that the whole race. But I guess I walk her enough before the race to last through 60 minutes.
Well, we send our virtual waves to Joy, of course. I had a little bit of the photo bomb on your camera here tonight, but a fantastic race from VIR. Justin, as always, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on the podium here from Virginia, and looking forward to seeing you at Suzuka in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you.
So that's Justin saying. Now we have the answer. The dog's name is Joy. And hopefully we get to see her in some other iterations of the Pro Class when Justin races. And overall, Rachel, a fantastic one here from Virginia International Raceway. But now we get to kind of bring things back to the next race in PCA Sim Racing. That'll be Wednesday night on April 5th at 9:25 Eastern for the Sport Class. Same track, same car, different field of drivers. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really should be. It'll be fantastic, and I really can't wait to see what happens there. These guys put on a fantastic show tonight. I've been very, very impressed.
Well, it was an amazing strategy race, an amazing track position race from VIR. It continues not to disappoint. We'd like to thank our sponsors for Series 10 before we wrap things up, the Porsche Exchange and Six Sigma Sim Racing. And to find out more about them, for the Porsche Exchange, you can go to forporsche.com or follow at Porsche Exchange on Instagram. Six Sigma Sim Racing, you can find out more with them at sixsigmasimracing.com. A big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing. A huge thanks to our team tonight on the broadcast. Ryan Bauer, our producer, Dougie Beard, our camera creator, Cameron Aubernon on social media, all of the people at Podium Esports, Gary Sexton and John Theodore, and for my colleague in the booth this evening, Rachel Whiteford, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching our broadcast of PCA Sim Racing Series 10 in the Pro Class. Congratulations to Wyatt Gooden. We'll see you next on track from VIR Wednesday night, April 5th.